never know when this thing starts. Hi everybody, it's Danielle Walker from Against All Grain. I just saw something flash up on my computer to tell me that I'm live, because I didn't know already. Thanks for joining me Tuesdays, every Tuesday. I'm going to start calling it Live with Danielle or something cheeky. If you have a better name for it, please leave it in the comments below and maybe I'll take your suggestion. So again, thanks for joining me. Please leave in the comments below where you're from and where you're joining me from and your name so I can say hi to you. So I am doing a very small cooking demo for you today. Mostly I'm going to answer some kind of frequently asked questions. I'm not in the mood to cook today. It's really hot outside. It's also kind of a tough week for our family, so I'm not really going to be doing anything big, but I am going to make a batch of my spicy almonds because I keep them in my pantry at all times. They will dress up any boring salad, and so that's what we're having tonight. Not a boring salad, but a salad. And it's just kind of my go-to when I don't feel like cooking. I have grilled chicken usually that I keep in the fridge, and then these almonds, and my Thai dressing is kind of my go-to. So I'm gonna come closer because I can't read your comments. Hi, Tina from Naples. Oh, I'm sure it's hotter in Alabama, Anna, than it is here. I probably shouldn't complain. Hi, Jennifer from New York. Hello, Laura from Orlando, and Diane from Cleveland. Hi, Michelle from Orlando. My heart to all of you guys in Orlando. I'm seeing this a couple times now, so just know that we have been thinking about you guys and praying for everybody there. Hi, Danielle. Let's see. Who else? Hi, Jessica from California, northern or southern? Yes. Oh, 114 in Tucson, Nerissa. I'm sorry. So, okay, it's not that hot here. It's hot, but it's not that hot. Hi, Laura from Minnesota. Oh, good. I'm so glad you're enjoying the live videos. And thank you, Bridget. That's exciting news, actually. I'm going to pop off the camera for just a quick second. Bridget just said congratulations on being in Oprah magazine. I'm pretty excited. So it's this issue that's on stands now, and there's 3 brand new recipes in there. They're all no cook for those hot days. So grab a copy of that. And then also this gluten-free living magazine. There's also an article where I answer just a lot of questions kind of about my journey of being grain-free and kind of what led me to that. So make sure to pick that up as well on newsstands. And then while we're on it, just a couple other little things. Barnes & Noble, if you haven't pre-ordered your copy from there, you can still get in on a signed copy. Just go ahead and pre-order on their website, and then when it comes out from on September 27th, my book Celebrations, you will get a signed copy so long as you get your order in before they sell out. So I'm going to start making these while I chat with you guys, and of course everything's dirty because that's how it goes, isn't it? So I'm going to do about a cup of almonds. So I like to use raw almonds, although typically they're not always fully raw. They do go through some sort of a steam pasteurization usually, even if they're labeled raw. You can sometimes find them at your farmer's market truly raw. The other thing that I like to do, which I frequently don't have time and I forget and I remember and then I try to do a huge batch, but I like to soak my almonds. You guys can't really see that, but the reason why you soak them is because it removes the outside coating that makes them hard to digest, and also the anti-nutrients. So it makes them a lot better for you and a lot easier on your gut. And so a lot of times I'll soak those first, dehydrate them, and then I use them in any of my recipes. So really, if it calls for almonds, you can soak and dehydrate and they will work. So I've got a cup of almonds, and then I'm going to do, let's do the olive oil first. I got this beautiful, incredibly tasty bottle of olive oil from Tyler Florence. Sent it to me from his new collection with Williams-Sonoma. And honestly, I shouldn't be wasting it on something that's going to be roasted. I should be saving it for the salad, which I will be using it in the dressing as well, but it's so delicious. So 2 tablespoons of olive oil. You could also use avocado oil if you want. It does have a bit of a higher smoke point, so if you're concerned about that, you can do that. This doesn't get that hot, so I'm not that concerned. I did post an article a couple weeks ago actually about cooking with olive oil, and I think it kind of debunks some of those myths that are flying around about olive oil being bad for you. And then I've got 2 teaspoons of coconut aminos. So we talked about coconut aminos, I think maybe 2 live videos ago. They are a soy sauce substitute. So if you're not familiar with them, this is the brand that I like. I also show it to you on my Shopping with Danielle at Whole Foods video that I did. So this is Coconut Secret brand, but it's fermented coconut. Sorry, I'm kind of blanking, the sap of the coconut. And so it's a great substitute. It's not quite as salty as soy sauce, so if you are gonna substitute in like a gluten-free tamari soy sauce, you may wanna reduce the salt that I call for in my recipes. And then we're going to do 1.5 teaspoons of maple syrup. So these nuts, if you haven't had them, I am completely addicted to them. They are a little bit smoky, a little bit sweet from the maple syrup, super, super crunchy, teeny bit of spice, and like I said, they just go well on any salad, and they're so great to have in your pantry for those nights when you are really kind of just bored with what you're cooking, or you don't really want to do anything special but you want it to taste special. So I keep them on hand, and we do grilled chicken salads a lot during the summer when it's really hot. So I did about 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne. I actually did a little bit less, but you can't see that because I don't like anything spicy. So you can add more to that if you want. And then 1/4 teaspoon of paprika and 1/2 teaspoon of garlic salt. And then just 1/2 teaspoon of cumin. And all I'm gonna do is just mix that up and throw them in the oven 20 minutes. I'm going to put them in at 350 and flip them once. So I will throw those in, and then I'm going to answer some of your questions. I like to do everything on parchment-lined baking sheets. It saves for cleanup when your kids are at your feet, especially my little guy, and so it just makes everything a lot easier. So I've got a baking sheet here. I'm just going to lay these out in a single layer. So typically I actually do double this amount, and sometimes even triple, because we go through them so much. I chop them up and I just keep them in a jar. They'll keep in your pantry for a good few weeks. So I'm just going to put those in a single layer, and I'm going to pop those in the oven. I'll be right back. Okay, and so I'm going to go through your questions, but I went through them for the last couple of weeks, and so I wanted to first go through some of just the frequently asked questions that I get. Number one is the difference between all of my recipes. So if you follow me here on Facebook, you see me share recipes all the time, and those usually contain links. So those recipes are actually blog recipes, which are for the most part exclusive to my blog. They are still special and still really, really great, but my most special recipes are always saved for my books. And there's a few that have some crossover, but I get that question a lot. What recipes are in your books? Which recipes are on your blog? Which are the recipes that you're sharing here on Facebook? And so for the most part, those are completely separate. I've shared a few of the all-time favorites, like the sandwich bread, the chocolate chip cookies, things like that that do really great and that people love on the blog. I put those into the books. But these are my current 2 books, and I also get the question of what's the difference. So we refer to them usually as Against All Grain and Meals Made Simple, even though they both have Against All Grain in the title. Around here, we sometimes call them the red shirt and the white shirt. But this is my first book, and just to give you a quick run over for everybody that has the questions, is this one is kind of everything from breakfast straight through to desserts and beverages. And I kind of always explain it as that sigh of relief when you're first told that you have to go gluten-free or grain-free, and you want to still be able to enjoy all those foods. So there's lemon meringue pie in there, there's the chocolate chip cookies, there's cakes, then there's all the entrees and side dishes, things like that. Meals Made Simple came because you guys kept asking for more mealtime weeknight dinners. And so that is this book. And there's 125 recipes in there. There's also 8 weeks of meal plans, grocery lists, and there's nutritional data in here too. So that's another question we get frequently, is where can you find nutritional data? So this one has nutritional data in the back. Against All Grain, we're actually working on getting all the nutritional facts for that right now, and we will put those up on the blog as soon as we have them. But in the meantime, you can actually go to the MyFitnessPal website, and you can pretty much find every recipe I've ever written on there, and you can find the details there. Lastly, my app Cookery, people wonder about the difference between that. That is mostly blog recipes with a few exclusive recipes. Okay, so moving on from that, hey, you wanna come say hi? No? Asher's here. So moving on from that, I wanted to talk about flowers, because last week I made the blueberry galette, and hopefully you guys saw that. And I get a lot of questions about the differences between, yeah.
What are we gonna have for dinner?
Asher's asking what we're gonna have for dinner tonight. I think it's 4 o'clock, 4:15. This is the question we get. We are gonna have chicken and salad.
Okay.
Sound good?
And Mama,
Yeah.
I'm hungry.
Can you just come say hi to everybody since they're seeing you or they're hearing you? Please. Just wave hi and then you can run back out. Okay. Okay. You can have a snack in a few minutes, okay? I'll come outside and grab you when I'm done. Somebody asked, I think, last week how I keep my kids busy while I'm doing these. There you go. So back to flowers. My most frequently used flowers are almond flower, coconut flower, and arrowroot. And I wanted to talk a little bit about them because it's some of the questions that we get a lot. So we'll start with coconut flower. I very rarely use it on its own. Occasionally I do when I'm really trying to get like a nut-free recipe for you guys. But the properties of it I don't think are that great on its own. It works really well if you combine it with a nut flour or if you're trying to keep it nut-free, arrowroot, which is a starch. But coconut flour is dehydrated coconut meat. It absorbs a ton of moisture. And so you don't need much of it. And I also love to use it with things like almond flour, cashew flour that does have a little bit of extra oil in it. It also helps to make things a little bit more cakey. One of the questions I get frequently is, can you substitute coconut flour for my recipes that use almond flour? And the answer is no, no, no. You cannot substitute it one for one. So I really suggest trying to stick to recipes the way that they're written. If you need to substitute things, you can substitute sunflower seed flour, so you just want to get raw sunflower seeds and grind them up in a coffee grinder or a food processor and then run them through a mesh sifter. Get any big particles out. That can be substituted one for one, so 1 cup of sunflower seed flour to 1 cup of almond flour or cashew flour. Coconut flour is a little bit trickier and I don't really have an equation for you. Sometimes I say you can try to use twice the amount of arrowroot that's called for coconut flour, or you can also try to use twice the amount of almond flour. So if there's, a 1/4 cup of coconut flour, you can try a 1/2 cup of almond flour. I will give the disclaimer that the textures will be totally different. It might be a little bit more dry, but if you are allergic to nuts and you want to try to substitute it, that's an option. Arrowroot, again, I try to use it minimally. It is a starch, but it helps to make doughs pliable. So last week in the galette, I used it because it makes it a little bit easier to fold. It makes it a little bit less likely to crack. And then I'm not going to grab it, but my almond flour is that big jug that I had out last week. That was actually cashew flour, but you can use those interchangeably as well. And with almond flour, I like to really stress that you want to get blanched, first of all, which removes the skins. And so that makes it a little bit easier to bake with. It makes the texture a little bit more like an all-purpose flour. And you want it very, very finely ground. So anytime I have somebody that comes and says, I baked this or that and it's sunk in the middle, or it didn't cook all the way through, or it's just really soggy, that's usually the #1 culprit is the almond flour. So you can find the brands that I suggest on my site. I'll also put them in the comments below. But as always, I say Welby's and Honeyville are some of my favorites. So let's see, I wrote down one of the other questions. Egg substitutes. I get that a lot as well. So egg substitutes are a little bit difficult in grain-free baking, and I don't like to give advice on substitutes unless I've tried it in my kitchen, because I don't ever give you guys recipes that haven't been tested multiple times. And so I'm always hesitant to say that a substitute will work unless I've tried it, because I don't want you guys to fail and end up wasting ingredients. But that said, I can say that most people find that if a recipe calls for 2 or less eggs, you can usually use a chia egg or a flax egg. If you look that up on Google, you can find the recipe for it, but it's basically mixing ground chia or ground flax with warm water, and it kind of creates what they call a slurry. And so you can try that. Other substitutes that work well for eggs can be bananas, applesauce. I would say those are probably the best ones. So I get those questions a lot. Oh, and you know what? I always forget to say, a lot of people that have chicken egg allergies or intolerances can oftentimes actually tolerate duck eggs. They are quite a bit larger than chicken eggs. So again, I know if you search on Google, you can find kind of that substitution equation. But maybe ask your allergist and see if you can tolerate duck eggs, because you might actually be able to, and then you can enjoy eggs again, and you can enjoy some baked goods. So that's an option as well. Okay, I'm gonna get a little closer again. I'm gonna move this camera so that I can start reading through some of your questions. This Facebook Live thing is funny because it pushes them down as I go. So So let's see. And again, just as a reminder, you guys can watch all of these again. They live on Facebook forever, so you can go to the videos tab in my profile and you can watch them. And then I also put them up on YouTube afterwards so that anybody that can't join us can watch them later. So my favorite brand of coconut flour, Karen, I really like Tropical Traditions. I liked Nutiva as well, and then in our testing, we actually tested like 8 different coconut flours, and I do plan to give you a post on that at some point when I have time. But Trader Joe's actually performed really well too. So I would say that's probably one of the most accessible ones. So you can grab that. I'm gonna scroll through here and try to find other, let's see. Oh, let's see. Lots of people from Australia. I love that. So I don't want to get anybody's hopes up, and I can't commit to anything, but I'm really, really, really hoping to get there on a book tour for this book because I haven't been able to go with my other 2, and I would love to come and meet you guys. So might not be till next year at some point, but hopefully I can get there because I've never been there, and it's a great excuse to come there too with my family. Oh, the white bowl that my almonds are soaking in. It's from Sur La Table. Hold on. You know what? I'm going to post that later because it's heavy and I can't lift it up. Thank you, Lisa. Angelica, thank you. I would love to have a show, honestly, you guys. I think it would be so fun. I love doing cooking demos and videos for you guys. I also think that there's so many people that still need to hear the message of food as healing, and I think that a television show would be a great place for that. I also think that there's not anything out there for people that really want to eat healthy or gluten-free, but still really enjoy delectable and delicious food. So that, you know, would be super fun. So anybody knows anybody out there that has any connections in that world, let me know, and I'm all game. Let's see. Yes, olive oil, Brian, can be bad. I know I've posted some articles on that too. A lot of the olive oil that's actually sold in grocery stores is mixed with other oils, so definitely want to make sure that you get a 100% olive oil on a really good quality. It should always be stored in a dark bottle so that it doesn't oxidize. You should be keeping it at kind of room temperature, not too hot. And okay, so I'm going to keep moving on. Sorry. Thank you. I love that you love the shopping videos, Danielle. I will do more. I'm planning on doing a Trader Joe's one for sure. If you haven't seen them, you can watch Whole Foods and Costco. They're on my YouTube channel. Let's see. Oh, good, Brooke. So if you're going to do these almonds SCD, all you need to do is substitute out the honey. Also, coconut aminos are kind of a gray area in SCD. Some people do them, some people don't. It really just depends if you can tolerate them. So you could totally leave those out. They're definitely good for flavor, but if you are very strict SCD, you want to leave those out as well. Oh, Whitney, don't be too lazy to make them. They're super easy. I just threw them together in like 5 minutes while talking to you guys and answering questions. I suggest doing like 3 cups of them at a time, and then you can have them all the time. Amanda, no, I put them in the oven. The recipe will be linked below soon. I will give you guys it in the comments. 350 degrees. And about 20 minutes, flip them halfway through. Gray book versus the red book. Yes, that's also a good way to describe it. Okay. In terms of my current medications and recent flare-ups, if you actually want to go to my blog, I just did a huge post on that. I did have a bit of a relapse a couple of months ago now, so I talk a lot about kind of everything that I did to recover from that, so you can read all about that. Lauren, yeah, I discussed my kitchen. We have done a couple posts on it on my blog, so I'll try to find that link. Otherwise, you can, I think, probably search on it, and it's something like a kitchen tour. So I give you some some information on kind of my counters and my cupboards and all that kind of stuff. Can I drink red wine while I cook these recipes? Absolutely, Kelly. I not only say yes, but I would like to join you. If you can tolerate wine. Some people can't. I personally can have a glass or so a week, a couple glasses a week, and I'm usually fine. All right. So, Natalie, that's a good question. How long after a flare do you find you can add foods back in? I honestly think it depends on the person. I also think it depends on what kind of flare you're having. So if you're having a digestive, like IBD flare, which is Crohn's ulcerative colitis, celiac, things like that, it may take longer than some people who are having something that's not directly gut related, although everything I think is related to the gut. I find that as soon as my symptoms are gone, I can add certain things back in. I'm not talking about adding gluten in or anything like that. I'm talking about maybe some raw vegetables. So I usually wait until I'm really in the clear because I don't want, to have any sort of a relapse. So I would just say really watch your body. No, Jill, I don't eat beans or legumes. I don't tolerate them. Occasionally I can have some chickpea flour when I eat my grain-free chicken nuggets that I make for my son, but we always pop a few, and I'm fine with that. Elsie, baby's first foods. Actually, I'm going to be posting about that sometime this week. I just shared 3 of my very first starter foods that I gave my littlest guy, Easton, who's now 10 months. And I did start him with egg yolks, bone broth, avocado, some of those things that you're listing. So look out for those. I don't think that they need anything more filling or starchy, honestly. I think that that's a common misconception with the rice cereals and the oatmeals and things like that. I think if they're breastfed or if they are having a formula, I think that they don't need all of that like people think that they do. Also, babies' digestive tracts are not fully developed until about a year, they say. And so personally, I chose to wait on grains until after he was a year old. But sweet potatoes, fruits that have, carbs in them, things like that, I think are great. And I think that if you give them those types of foods, then they should be just fine. Yes, that's also a good tip, Kelly. Eggs that are not soy fed are huge. I notice a big difference when I eat pasture raised eggs, which means that the chickens are left to graze like they should be. They're not given a feed with soy or corn or anything like that. They forage on the ground and they eat the bugs and the insects and everything like that. And so I definitely notice a difference, especially with soy fed. So if you are having trouble, perhaps try that as well, as Kelly just suggested. Yes, Maria, you can use arrowroot to thicken a gravy. I don't prefer it because I think that it makes it a bit slimy. You will see in celebrations actually my kind of favorite tips for making gravy, but I tend to like to blend vegetables and put them into the gravy. I also have done a cashew base before. That helps thicken it really, really nicely as well. Okay, Ashley, recommendation for transitioning picky toddlers. I started Asher gluten-free when he was probably 2. I was kind of giving him some of those snacks and things. And so thankfully he was young enough that I was fortunate that he didn't know a lot of the snacks. But my biggest suggestion that I've learned with him is letting him get involved. So the more that I brought him into the kitchen with me and let him help measure things out or see what I was making, things like that, he was so much more willing to try it. I also learned that I couldn't underestimate what he might be interested in. A lot of times I would make us something like a Thai curry or something like that, and I wouldn't give it to him for dinner because I didn't think he'd like it, and I'd give him something else. And I think that trained him to be kind of picky. And so I started having him try a bite. We kind of had a rule that it was, which we called it the Sam I Am rule. And it was that he had to try a bite because you never know if he'd like it. And I am not in the camp of forcing kids to eat everything on their plate. I kind of take it from a different perspective. And so I would have him try a bite, and if he really didn't like it, I'd make him something else that I would, keep in the freezer, a grass-fed beef hot dog or something like that. But we just always made sure that he tried things, and then I would constantly reintroduce things. So even if he didn't like it last month, I would try again. And he's grown to like a lot more foods. Honestly, kids are picky, and I tried everything I was told when he was a baby about baby-led weaning and all of that, about making sure he ate all sorts of different flavors when he was first eating solids, and he still turned out picky. So I think kids just go through that phase, and thankfully he's coming out of it, and I'm hoping that it stays that way. All right, I'm sorry to scroll through so many of these. There's just so many. So I will definitely go back and try to answer as many of these as I can afterwards, but I'm going to try to answer a few more. Yes,
Jeanette, the flours are expensive. That's why I say that the grain-free treats should still be treats. Not only because they still do have sugars and things like that, but because they can be expensive. And so when I hear from people that eating this way can be really expensive, I say typically the most expensive part is actually the baked goods, the flours, the sweeteners, things like that. Getting grass-fed organic meats and organic vegetables can be a lot more budget friendly than buying almonds and almond flour and honey and maple syrup and things like that. So definitely, try to get them in bulk if you can. Amazon is great. Costco sometimes carries things, so I would suggest those and try to use them sparingly. Let's see. Honestly, Michelle, skincare, I don't really do much. Thankfully, my mom and my dad had really great skin, so I can't speak to that. I'm grateful for them. But I do have to say that I've noticed much less issues with my skin, and my husband actually, especially because he had issues since going grain-free and dairy-free especially. I noticed a lot of people tell me that they have skin issues when they eat a lot of dairy. I've also been taking collagen peptides for a very long time. I think that helps with hair and skin and nails as well. So you might want to look into that. Bone broth, lots and lots of bone broth. I would love to prepackage baked goods and mixes, Carla. Right now, I just don't have the bandwidth to do it. I am doing recipes and books and being a mom, and so at some point, I would love to. I think I would need a bigger team to do it, but it might be down the road with restaurants and the TV shows and all the dreams that I have. So hopefully those will all come true one day when there's 50 of me. Yes, let's see. I'm glad, Laura, that your daughter's doing better without breakouts, being off of gluten. That's fantastic. All right, so I think I've reached the end. I'm sure that there's tons that I didn't answer, so I'm going to go back through, but it's been 25 minutes, so I'm going to let you guys all get back to your life, and I'm going to get my easy, simple dinner that I've got planned for tonight together so that my little guy doesn't come back in soon asking what we're having again, because he asks that starting at like 2 p.m. And so I will see you guys next Tuesday. I'm going to leave a few more links. Last week's video is still available. I made the blueberry galette. I'm going to try to get that recipe up on the blog in a few weeks. Hopefully, I'm not going to promise. I was going to say hopefully before 4th of July, but I don't know if that's going to happen because I've got the cheesecake that just went out today, dairy-free cheesecake with strawberry sauce, which would be perfect for your 4th of July festivities. So I will put that link in the comments. And then if you want to watch the galette video, I've actually had quite a few people already make it, even though the written recipe isn't there. So you can go to my YouTube channel, which I'll leave a link, or you can just go back and you guys can make it just from that. So I will see you guys later. I'm going to go get Asher a snack before dinner, and then I'm going to make dinner. I'll see you guys again on Tuesday. So have a great rest of your week. Thank you for joining me, and see you next week.